the goalpost will always be moving if you set your standards to be in somebody else's eyes. Like if your goal
Mm-hmm.
is to impress the people around you, once you reach that goal, the goalpost is going to move. I had the same time when I did a triathlon with my little brother. My goal was to finish. My only goal was to survive. Posted that I hit my goal. I hit the time that I was hoping to get. I finished the race. I had a great day. And then in the comments, I noticed there were like quite a few people kind of going at it a little bit of like, oh, well, you weren't in the top 50 and like your time wasn't this impressive.
Hey, Heal Squad! Glad to be back with you guys today. Very excited for our chat today with our guest. But first, our quote of the day: choose the thing that makes you happy. That is from Anna Sitar. Heal Squad, I'm so excited to welcome Anna Sitar to our show today. She is a digital megastar. She's got over 13 million followers. She's a podcast host and now even a triathlete and about to be a marathon runner. But what I love about her the most is her ability to inspire and connect through her incredible storytelling. In our first part of our chat, we're going to talk about her journey from small town Michigan girl to Los Angeles, where she followed her dreams and built the career of her dreams, and how she didn't get stuck in the path that was potentially chosen for her. We get into how she stayed true to herself with so much public attention, the lessons she's learned about navigating change with courage and grace. It was a really fun and inspiring chat, and I think you guys are going to love it. All right. So, Anna, I am so excited to chat with you. You are in Los Angeles, right?
Yeah, I'm so excited to chat with you. Where are you based?
Well, I live in LA too, but right now I'm on the East Coast in Connecticut.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun.
Yeah, we got our first snow. It's so pretty. Although it's starting to melt with the sun outside, I can see, but
I love that. I just came back from Michigan yesterday and they had the same thing where it was already like sprinkling a bit. It makes me hopeful for like a white Christmas.
that's where you're from, right?
Yep, that's where I grew up.
Now, will you go back there for Christmas?
Yes, but not to see my family. Funny enough, my boyfriend, I met him in LA, also is from Michigan. So we split back and forth whose Christmas vacation we go on. And this year is like his family's Christmas and my family was Thanksgiving. So I was actually in Philly first, then we just did a little pit stop in Michigan on the way home.
Oh, that's so funny. So
Yeah.
Kevin and I have the same kind of thing where, you never think you're going to meet somebody from like your hometown or whatever. Like, and so Kevin was born and raised in the same hometown as me,
Oh my gosh.
and we were born in the same hospital, which
Okay.
is
That's
so
crazy.
random.
That's like the ultimate of invisible string theory, I feel like.
Yeah. And we met when he was making a movie. So I was working in Boston and going to college, and he was making a movie, and he was in pre-production in LA and came back to Boston to make his movie. So it's kind of funny when you meet somebody from your home. But if you're home, everyone's in Michigan, your family moved.
My family all moved to California, interesting enough. So like my parents live like an hour and a half north of the city, like in a little beach town. So it's kind of nice because I feel like I have somewhere like to escape to while I'm still living
Wait,
in
are they
LA.
in like Carpinteria?
Yeah, they're in Ventura actually.
I love it. I
Crazy.
love it.
Yeah. So it's like amazing
Um,
because they're like in a great area where, you know, it's not the hustle and bustle of living in LA, but it's still like California, which is great for me.
yeah. Where do you feel most home? Michigan or LA?
I would say now LA because I feel like I've been here for long. I've been here for 5 years and like I feel like I've really built like roots in California a bit more like
Mm-hmm.
because my family's here. I just got my first place here. So it kind of feels more like every time I get on an airplane I'm coming back to LA I'm like, "Oh, like this is home for sure." But there's always sweet spots about Michigan. Like I know that all my college friends are there. There's just a different energy in Michigan. It's a lot slower paced. It's a lot more
Mm-hmm.
calm, even getting to go back to like my college town and see my friends at places that I grew up. I love taking people there to introduce them to what I experienced, but I don't know that it feels like home as much anymore.
So it's funny because when I was kind of like doing my homework on you, one of my favorite things that just like I loved was this clip from your podcast. So you have a podcast called Anna's Guide.
Mm-hmm.
And how long have you been doing it for?
Oh my gosh, like maybe 6 months. It's still pretty fresh and new, which is exciting. I
Okay.
still feel like I'm like understanding the podcast space and what I want to grow into, but I have so much fun like sharing with my community in a new space in like the audio
So
format versus video.
this clip was so cool because you're just sitting on your couch and you're like basically giving real great sage advice in a fun way where you're like, listen, like not everyone's going to like me, and I'm starting to realize that.
Yeah.
And not everybody likes coffee, and that sounds crazy to me. Meanwhile, I'm drinking my coffee.
No, literally me
But
too.
then I was like, and you went off, and it was so cute, and it was so just inspiring, and something I think everyone needs to hear, because we just, I don't know, you're a different generation than me, but we were trained to be good girls and to have everybody needs to like us. And I think everyone gets a version of that. Maybe you
Yeah.
guys are just better than us, but I'm still, I'm just now in my 40s getting to the I don't give a fuck place, which is
Yeah.
so liberating and exciting. And it sounds like at 27, you're already there, which is awesome.
Definitely still stressed about it, but yes, it's like something that I feel like I still have to remind myself about.
Yeah, it's a practice
Yeah.
until it becomes, normal routine. But someone in your comments had a really great quote. And she said, she said, you could be the juiciest, sweetest peach, and there's still going to be people who hate peaches.
Yeah,
And it's what you were
exactly.
saying. And I just love that. And I'd love to kind of chat a little bit about that, because I think we all need to be freed of that pressure.
Yeah.
Like you said, there are people who don't like coffee. That sounds crazy to some people, but there are people who don't like dark chocolate. I
No,
love dark
exactly.
chocolate. I used to hate dark chocolate. I never used to drink coffee either.
Yeah. No, I'm the same. Where like I'm still on my like loving dark chocolate journey, but my boyfriend loves dark chocolate, so we still have it from time to time. And I'm like, okay, this is fine, but I'm still my milk chocolate girly. But no, I agree. It's been the most interesting experience. I think that social media and the career change that I had expedited that like profound experience for me of trying to like better understand myself and know that as long as I'm being myself, I'm being the best version. Not that the best version of me is the one that's going to please the people around me. I think that like
Ooh,
there's so many moments in my life where I like did the right thing and did like what I thought was best because people wanted it from me and not because I was doing it for myself. And I finally realized that in my social media career specifically was like really the one turning point in my life where I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this because I'm really enjoying it. I love making videos and I love the sense of community and I love feeling like I'm understood and not like judged for what I'm making. And I feel like on TikTok super early on, the community that you were building were people who also kind of felt excluded in certain ways and were looking for other people to lean on in that experience. So I feel like it came expedited because of my social media career, but also at times now as I continue to grow, it still creeps up on me like if my videos don't do well or if I'm not performing in a way that I thought I was going to, or if I see comments that aren't what I hope people would perceive my videos as, it's still me seeing them being like, oh my gosh, did I make something wrong or make something bad because it's not what everybody loves.
yeah. I mean, even it's so funny because nowadays you can't say anything. And so even when you're like, someone doesn't have coffee, like that's psychotic. And you're like, wait, my best friend doesn't drink coffee.
No,
So
literally,
you
I'm
can't
like,
say
wait, hang on,
psychotic.
I gotta back
But
up.
like
I can't go too
people will
crazy.
go crazy even if you say something like that. And everyone knows you don't really mean that, but it's scary. Like your
I
words carry so much weight now.
Yeah. I actually had a creator. I was talking with a group of us when we were at an event once, and someone had said, I noticed myself losing my opinion about things the more that I became a creator because you wanted to be neutral. So that way you could like everyone could enjoy what you're making. If you like make yourself not too polarizing, then like it includes everyone, which I've always been someone who's like, my channel is for everyone. My goal is positivity and like creating content that makes you feel good. But don't get me wrong, there are definitely times I think where people don't think I handled things particularly perfectly or different areas of my life particularly perfectly or my breakup perfectly or the way that a video comes off is in the way that I intended for it to. And I think that happens from time to time, but if you know truly what you intended by it and like especially for me, like I'm only intending ever like positivity and feel good and love and empowerment and making sure people are like seen and felt and heard, um then people are going to take if even if you say everything perfect, there's going to be somebody who finds something wrong with it.
Yeah. So, okay, if you were to look back at like one experience that didn't land well and
Mm,
people had really strong opinions and it really hurt you, if you were to look back at that, what was that moment? How did you handle it initially? And then what happened after? Because usually
yeah.
those are the moments when you learn so much about yourself and I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like this is a moment that I kind of think about often and I still am trying to navigate exactly how I perceive it, like exactly what I think about it, but I know that there's sometimes this is kind of a funny thing. I don't know. Take this with a grain of salt. Me getting nervous to say this right now because I'm like, what if I say something wrong about it? Um I did my undergrad degree in mechanical engineering and there are times where I'll talk about like quote, being an engineer. And sometimes that's not the most well received. Like people get upset that because I don't currently work in the field, I would consider myself able to have that title. And it's like a quite polarizing opinion. My opinion is like you are everything that you do, whether it's like you're working in it right now, whether it's a passion, like whether it's something that you are working on in your degree, whether it's something that you've done in your past life. Like it's all part of the mosaic that makes up you.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had people like get a little heated in comment sections about whether or not I can call myself an engineer. And it's so funny because sometimes the callbacks are like, oh, well, my boyfriend who works in engineering thinks that this is offensive because like you don't actually work in the field and you're taking away the credit that he has. And I'm kind of like, okay, does your boyfriend really need a little bit more credit? Like, I think we could have one for the girlies where like this can be fine. But I just there's a
But it makes you like freak out, right? Like, don't you like
makes
want
me
to go in your
nervous.
turtle shell and like, oh, I'm bad.
Insecure that I'm like, oh my gosh, so like I can't call myself that even though I put all these years of work into doing that one degree. Like it kind of like almost feels like it's like for me too, as much as people think that me saying that would be taking away from somebody who has and works in the field right now, I feel like I'm like, well, I work just as hard for the same degree. Why can't I say that I have it as well? You know what I mean?
If
It's
you were a doctor, if you got your doctorate degree, whether you were practicing or not, you would say you were a
still
doctor.
be a doctor. And that's the thing though, is like there's so many different, loopholes with it. But just knowing that like I'm really proud of that degree. And I know that for me it was something really difficult that I got through still and did 4 years of college and got the jobs that I wanted to get, but still made the decision to do what made me really happy and what I was kind of hoping to pursue in the future. I'm gonna settle on that hill that like everything worked out as it was meant to, whether I can call myself an engineer or not.
So, how did that help you potentially to give less fucks?
Yeah.
What did you learn?
I think like the biggest thing is still that same opinion of like people are going to love it and hate it no matter what you do. And what's also tough is in that comment section, there's hundreds of people saying like I love this. This is amazing. Like I got into engineering because you did. This is really inspiring. Give me your advice on how you got through it. And then there's like three comments that are negative or three comments that are like, "Oh my gosh, I don't agree with this. I don't like what you said. You can't call yourself that or like this doesn't apply to you." And the truth is like once again, you're not going to make everyone happy and it's so easy to notice the negative because it hurts. Like, I think we're often like accumulated to hearing feedback and being like, oh, that's how I know what kind of job I did is how negative the feedback is on a scale. Like, if it's the worst feedback I've ever gotten, that means I did a horrible job, even if there's people that still praised you in the process.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I think that's like what comes to mind too. And I think similarly, it was so funny. I had the same thing happen. I think this was like a better lesson that I learned is I had the same thing happen when I did a triathlon with my little brother. My goal was to finish. My only goal was to survive. Like I wasn't doing it to get a good time or to place. I wasn't thinking about anything else except for like surviving the swim and learning how to like literally ride a road bike for kind of the first time during the race. And once I finished, I was so excited. I like posted that I hit my goal. I hit the time that I was hoping to get. I finished the race. I had a great day. And then in the comments, I noticed there were like quite a few people kind of going at it a little bit of like, oh, well, you weren't in the top 50 and like your time wasn't this impressive. And, your little brother did like this time, but you did this time, like you were actually like quite a bit slower. And all the like people were comparing and had like looked up the
Cool.
results of the triathlon. And what I thought was so funny is I was like, even if I would have been top 50, somebody would have been mad that I wasn't top 10. And if I wasn't top 10, I could have gotten first place and somebody would have been like, well, it was only a sprint triathlon. It wasn't the real length. And so it's like the goalpost will always be moving if you set your standards to be in somebody else's eyes. Like if your goal
Mm-hmm.
is to impress the people around you, once you reach that goal, the goalpost is going to move,
Yeah.
whether or not they congratulate you for reaching it in the first place.
And also, Anna, it's so clear that the people who are saying those things, you can just hear it in their comment. They are just so um, jealous and unhappy themselves.
A part of me is like if we think it's easy we could all do it together, like come join the journey. I would love to have buddies that I can like look over during a triathlon and see you doing it with me, but it's kind of that tough thing where I'm always like, I don't want to like I never want to like try to be like, oh well, you couldn't do this if you tried, because
Yeah.
that's not everybody's goal. But it's something so interesting how quickly people can judge from behind a screen unless
Yeah.
you were standing there that day and saw how much work it was to put into to get to even the time that I did get. And I talked about this in therapy that I was like, I was so proud of myself on that moment And like it makes me bummed because now I feel like it's kind of construed of how I see that day. And it was like literally in my brain a perfect day. Like I had my friends did it with me, my brother did it with me, my boyfriend and my parents were cheering me on. We were in Santa Barbara, California. It's beautiful. We swam in the ocean. Like it was a perfect day. We went surfing afterward. Like it was ideal day. But for some reason, like the way that it was received changed my perspective on how I saw it. And that's also something that I like wish I was better at, is like not allowing like somebody else to change my opinion about what I think. And that's that
Yeah.
same thing where it's, you don't have an opinion at all, and then somehow your opinion starts to morph with whoever you think is the loudest voice in the room versus like staying really true to what the day looked like and how you felt about it.
Yeah. I mean, the person behind the computer didn't do anything, no training, has no idea.
Mm-hmm.
And they're usually just mad that they aren't willing to go do these things themselves too. Like
Yeah.
I remember years ago, I surprised my parents and I bought them a new car.
Love.
And it was like one of my dreams to buy them a car. And it was the mid-size Hummer. This was so many years ago.
Okay. Iconic though.
And they flipped. It came up the driveway with a huge red bow. And a family member goes, "Oh, they didn't get you the big one?"
Oh.
Or my dad had we had gotten him a watch. I think it was an Omega watch. Oh, it's not a Rolex.
The way that gives you like like that gives me anxiety because it's like the people who are receiving it are just so happy to have gotten thought of in the first place.
My God,
That's why they're getting gifted.
they're huge gifts. Like you can't,
Yeah.
but this comes from an unhappiness within them.
Mm-hmm.
Their kids aren't doing this for them, or
Yeah.
they can't have those things. They have to just knock everything. So like back to the bigger point of this is we can't allow everyone else to judge us and dictate things for us. Now, the hard thing about what we do is we really are putting ourselves out there to be judged,
And you hear it constantly. Yeah,
which
exactly.
is crazy. And so like with my baby, she's 17 months,
Oh,
I don't show her
congratulations.
face. And people are like,
Yeah.
why aren't you showing her face? I'm like, A, for safety. B, why would I put my baby out there to be judged at
Yeah.
every phase of her life? That's going to be her choice. And so I don't need her to feel like she's judged, like good or bad. That's not what
Yeah.
she's out here to do. We're putting ourselves out there, which is why it gets a little gray for us. We're like, oh, shit, this
Yeah.
didn't
We're like,
land,
well,
this didn't perform.
exactly.
So it's a little tough because you have to kind of decipher the feedback and you have to get good at realizing like, well, was this honest, good feedback? Like I had someone who used to troll me all the time, but I used it as good feedback. And then we created a relationship where I was
Yeah.
like, okay, like I at first thought this was like just negative, but all right, you might be a good meter for me.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're pleased, then like maybe I am doing a good job. Exactly.
Yeah.
What do
But
you
it's a
define
fine
as
line.
someone, like, how do you define good feedback?
I think if it stops and makes me think,
Okay.
because if I'm offended instantly, or I don't know, like you can still be offended right away or hurt. But if it stops and makes me think, and it seems because you can kind of tell if it's constructive or not, like, oh shit, you know what? Yeah, I did kind of mail
That
that
is a
in
part of
and
me. Yeah.
they busted me. Like you have to be able to just kind of take stock properly, I think.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, interesting that you would see such a great day in a different way just because of a few, and it's just a few of them. And by the
It's
way, there
never
are so
fun.
many bots out there too
I know.
that are doing so much harm as well, which can get really tricky. Before we keep going, Anna, I just need to let everybody know that, of course, 'tis the season for giving, and Macy's has the perfect gifts at their best offer of the season, guys. From December 4th to the 12th, you can score an extra 30% off top gifts and 15% off the best beauty brands just in time. Whether you're shopping for your cozy sweater sets, Nest candles, Crocs, or that must have Dior lip glow oil, Macy's has something so special for everybody on your list. And the best part is you can get free shipping on orders over $25 or more when you shop online at Macy's.com or the Macy's app. Guys, I have all of my favorites in the description link, in the link in the description in this episode to help you on your holiday shopping. I implore you to start early and use these amazing deals December 4th through the 12th, extra 30% off. Make this holiday season merry and bright with Macy's. Head to Macy's.com and start shopping today. And when it comes to self-care, great hair can truly change your day. And you guys know Way makes it so easy to have your best hair days every day, whether you're dealing with dryness, frizz, or you need a little extra shine. Way has the perfect products tailored to your unique hair type. And if you don't know what it is, you can go online to their hair quiz, and it's a lifesaver. In just a few questions, it'll match you with the products that are customized to your hair needs, so you can finally skip the guesswork. So if you're ready for a hair upgrade, head over to theway.com. That's THEOUAI.com. Use the code Heal Squad. Get 15% off your entire order. Buy some for your friends for gifts. They're gonna love you for it. Wash your way to happier, healthier hair today. So, Anna, you were talking about getting shit for being an engineer.
Yeah.
Try getting cancer and people telling you it's not cancer.
Oh my gosh.
I thought about that one as you were saying it. So
Oh my goodness.
last year, I was diagnosed with a pancreatic tumor called a neuroendocrine tumor. Thought I was a goner, and luckily, I'm still here.
Yeah.
But there were so many people after the story went live that were like, this isn't cancer. This is a neuroendocrine tumor. Why didn't you call it a neuroendocrine tumor? Meanwhile, I'm on the Today Show. They called it pancreatic cancer. I can't control what they
Like
say.
I'm literally repeating what I heard.
Well, also, I know it's a neuroendocrine tumor, but it is pancreatic cancer. It's a form of
Yeah.
pancreatic cancer. And people were coming for me, and I'm like, wait, what? The pancreatic cancer charities are having me talk about this. That everyone is
Yeah.
categorizing it like this that knows, and the doctor told me the same thing. So it was like, they make you second guess even something as serious as that.
Something that you know.
All of this to say, guys, like we really have to like just shut that noise off,
Mm-hmm. Oh,
because they can really derail you in so many ways. And when you think about how much fear that puts in us to then be ourselves and to go
yeah.
do the things that we want to do, it's so prohibitive. But I want to talk about your transition because
I was
next to
gonna
the
ask quickly,
transition,
are you doing okay too? Do you feel better? Is that did
I
you end
am.
up having to get surgery or chemo or
I did. I had surgery. I didn't have to do chemo. They got it all out and it hadn't spread into any lymph nodes or anything, thank
oh
God.
gosh, that's so lucky.
So I am very, very lucky. I'm very grateful.
Yeah, me
Thanks
too.
for asking.
Of course.
I want to ask you too about your kind of like approach on health after too, but as we talk about you being an engineer and taking that risk to say, you know what, this isn't for me, what made you realize that the path you just spent so much time, energy, and money on wasn't the right
Yeah.
path for you?
Yeah, so I studied mechanical engineering at Western Michigan University, and I kind of picked the school and the degree because I knew when I was in high school that I really wanted to work in medicine, actually. But I have the worst like relationship with blood and needles. Cannot get any needles. I don't know if I could give them, but I just was like, I don't know if that's like if I really want to be in it. And so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do. I thought I wanted to do biomedical engineering, but when I was in anatomy, I had this one project that a teacher had introduced to us that was like pretending to create a prosthetic. Like, how would you build a prosthetic? And I was like, whoa, this is exactly what I want to do. Like, I don't know what this is, but this is cool. Like, it's building, it's part of the human body, it's about motion. Like, I was really into athletics at the time. I was like, this is what I want to do. And so my anatomy teacher, Mrs. Kruger, shout out Miss Kruger, was like, you know, Anna, there's this company right down the road from where we live called Stryker, and they do medical technology, but it's everything from like hip and knee replacements to OR technology to like drills and hospital beds, like anything you can imagine that exists in a hospital. And so when I went to Western, it was actually in the same town as the company's headquarters was. And I started doing my engineering degree. I did medical mechanical engineering instead because I had done some research that biomed was actually more focused on this like um it was more focused on like kind of chemistry and biology versus actually mechanics and like building different types of technology. So when I got to the career fair, I went up to the like workers at Stryker. I was like, I really want this job. And somehow miraculously by my sophomore year, I got hired as an intern. And I was working through all of these different internships. And then I got brought on during the school year to work part-time as an engineer. And then at my last internship, one of the requirements, because they usually will bring you on as a full-time employee once you're hired as an intern, I was in my interviews for getting a full-time job, but also in an interview that got me like to leave my internship where I interviewed my bosses back. So we're sitting there, and my first boss, I asked about asking for a raise and what do you do here? And I feel like a lot of people ask more of those like strategic questions versus I was like, you know what, I'm going to ask questions that are like emotional. Like, what did you want to be when you were growing up? And how did getting your first job make you feel? And was it difficult to have a balance between like family life and work life? And one of the last questions that I asked one of my bosses was, are you happy? Like, is what you're doing making you happy right now? And it was so interesting because his response, I think, was intended with a lot of love, but he just said, you know, I was just like you. I was an intern. And one day I blinked and 20 years went by. And now I'm married with 2 kids and I'm still in this job. And maybe he meant like there's a lot of longevity here or like, you know, time flies when you're having fun kind of energy. But I felt my stomach drop because I was like, oh no, I think I've made a mistake. I feel like I've done something wrong. Um, and what's crazy is I end up going home that night and like really soul searching of being like, what do I love? What do I want to do? Who do I want to be? And I realized that I like loved film and video. Like I always had this true passion for photography and videography and capturing life at its fullest. And I would make all of my family's home movies out of YouTube into like little YouTube videos. And all of college, I think I posted every Friday. I like had a YouTube video go live and no one watched it. I had 30 people watching my videos, but I just loved making things and like capturing and keepsaking a moment in life and turning into something you could watch for forever. So that night, I started doing my research. I found a grad school in LA that was in the top 10 of the country that accepted students who didn't have a film undergrad, which was like the one little dilemma that I had because I had all of these credits in engineering, but I had nothing in the arts because when would you need a credit in the arts? So once I ended up getting into my program and like looking up what I could do and what I had to do differently, all it
What
took,
program was it or what school?
I went to Loyola Marymount University here in LA, and they're ranked, I think they're right now like number 6 or number 7 in the country. And they have this 3-year program that is all focused in like, you can kind of pick an avenue, whether it's writing, directing, producing, and cinematography. You can kind of pick an avenue and then grow your curriculum based off of what you want to be. And I got accepted. I applied right going into my senior year, and I had gotten accepted by March of my senior year. So it was really interesting because I had already accepted a job in medicine. And I'd kind of told myself, like, you know, if I don't get in, it's not meant to be. Like, this is kind of, I'm only applying to this one school. If it doesn't work out, it's okay. I like, you know, it's a dream, but it's a pipe dream. But if it does work out, like, this is going to be incredible. I can't wait to see like where this holds. And I'll just, you know, let the job know that I'm not going to be coming in. I think June I was starting. I'll be moving to LA instead. And so I ended up applying and getting accepted to LMU. And when I first went there, I thought I wanted to be a producer because I was like, oh, this is easy. Like, it's so analytical, it's so strategic. I just came from such like a science-based field. I thought that it was going to be bread and butter, like easy. And then I got to my first producing class and I was like, I kind of like miss also the creativity in this field too. Like, I feel like I'm not being enough of myself still. And so I ended up like falling in love with writing and directing. And that's what I pursued for my 2 little avenues to cater what I wanted my career to look like.
And this is what you call your why moment.
And this is my why moment. That Stryker engineering to like, will I continue in the field that I was always in, or will I try something new, even though it's a risk? And it's probably the thinner path along and like the less trustworthy one. Like, do you take that risk and do you split yourself between those two?
So it's really funny that you interviewed them because I was just looking through an old shoebox I had here. And I found, because my senior year in high school, my guidance counselor sent me, told him I wanted to be a meteorologist.
Yeah.
And he sent me to a local station in Boston. And I met with like this beautiful meteorologist. Her name was Mish Michaels, and she was super popular. I have my notes from when I interviewed her. This is like almost 30 years ago or something.
That's so sweet that you
And
got that.
yeah, and I was laughing because I was like, "What are your hours?" And I just wrote white hair, no life,
Stop.
no
No.
family, all of her notes. But the biggest thing was that it required a lot of math, and I hated math. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm out." I'm like, "I'll just
No.
do regular broadcasting."
You're
But
like,
it's funny, like the things that you ask. And I was reading over my questions, and they were so well thought out and so thorough. It sounds like you did the same thing.
yeah.
And I think that's something that maybe people miss is you have to go see the things that people are doing, like before you go do them, because you might not even realize there's something to that job that you don't really like doing or
Yeah.
you're not good at. When you think about even like being a doctor, residencies and the hours, and it's a lot of commitment. Sometimes people just get in there and now it's too late, or they become a lawyer. I go, get ready to
Yeah.
literally be in front of a computer for the rest of your life every single day.
I think
That's
what's tough is like our parents' careers were really romanticized that they picked one thing and they loved it and they did that their whole life.
yeah.
Like I don't know that work is the same as it used to be, and I also don't know like that the culture around work is the same that it used to be. It's so funny. I literally just talked about this on my podcast like yesterday when I was recording about like being a workaholic and what does that mean, and like are you someone who like works 24/7? Are you someone who like knows when to cut it off and say like, hey, this is my day, this is my time now? And it's so interesting because I feel like I grew up in a small business family where I watched my mom build a business, and like there's areas of it where she's phenomenal at it, and then she was really smart to bring people on who are like filled in the gaps of what she didn't want to do, so she's able to like cater her career to being what she wants it to be. But before that, my dad worked in like corporate America and my dad's also an engineer, so he worked at a car company and like worked on parts, and his dad before that was a mechanic, and he spent his whole life working in the same place. And so it's so interesting because I feel like it was so romanticized when we are growing up that like you're going to pick one thing when you're 18 in college, you're going to go to school for that, and then you're going to work in that for the rest of your life and you're going to love it. And I feel like I'm like kind of thankful that our generation a little bit is like seeing that nothing is permanent and like nothing has to be for forever. You don't have to be unhappy for forever if you really don't love what you do.
Yeah, I think that's really important because I look at everything as like seasons. And I'm a
Yeah.
Gemini. I need variety. I
Yeah.
can't do the same thing. And I remember thinking, even growing up, like a 9 to 5 job, kill me. I could never do that.
Here's me.
But, I'm reading this really cool book called Weapons of Mass Instruction. And
Oh,
basically, it's talking about how all of the forefathers, all of the great minds and great thinkers of our, world never had formal schooling. Formal schooling was introduced as a way to create worker bees, to create what you're saying, someone who's
yeah.
going to go to school, take on a job, and hammer that nail every day.
Yeah.
It didn't. It wasn't really created to have free thinking and entrepreneurs and all of this stuff. So it's just interesting. Well, I want to go back to your why moment because I want you to explain to people what you mean by the why moment. All right, Heal Squad, we're going to pause right here for today because in part 2, Anna shares her why moments, not her WHY, but her why moments in life. You're going to figure out soon, or you're going to find out soon what that why means, and the secrets to prepping for a marathon and how she approaches health in her life. And I really love the marathon chat because I think so many of us think it's so impossible. But her explanation of how she went from barely being able to run 1 mile to doing her first marathon upcoming is very inspiring. And as we go into this new year, if you have any health and fitness goals, this might help you like it helped me. So stick around. Hey, Heal Squad. We have been on quite the journey together, and we're hearing from so many of you just how much this show is helping you heal and get better, and it makes us feel so good. We love, love, love it, and we just ask that you don't keep it to yourself. Spread the message and share the show or your favorite episode with your friends. And if you want to help us even more, you can leave us a 5-star rating and a comment on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and follow us on Instagram at Heal Squad. You can also DM us anytime because we love connecting with you. And finally, you can also join us on Patreon for our monthly live heal events with world-class healers and ad-free episodes exclusive only to Patreon and our Super Heal Squad for as little as $10 a month. So go to patreon.com/Heal Squad to join. Getting better isn't easy, friends, but as I say all the time, it's a whole lot easier if we can do it together. We love you all so much, and we love doing this thing called life with you.
This podcast and all related content published or distributed by or on behalf of Maria Menounos or mariamenounos.com is for informational purposes only and may include information that is general in nature and that is not specific to you. Any information or opinions expressed or contained herein are not intended to serve as or replace medical advice, nor to diagnose, prescribe, or treat any disease, condition, illness, or injury, and you should consult the healthcare professional of your choice regarding all matters concerning your health, including before beginning any exercise, weight loss, or healthcare program. If you have or suspect you may have a healthcare emergency, please contact a qualified healthcare professional for treatment. Any information or opinions provided by a guest expert or host featured within website or on company's podcast are their own, not those of Maria Menounos or the company. Accordingly, Maria Menounos and the company cannot be responsible for any results or consequences or actions you may take based on information or opinions.